Welcome to another episode. I'm Justin Lesko. You all know one of my goals is to make this show the best jiu-jitsu show in the world. Mission accomplished, obviously. So what's next? Well, what's next for me is a major surgery, but more on that in just a minute. But that impending surgery got me thinking I'm going to have to put some competition goals on pause for a bit. And I think everyone has short-term goals and even mid-term goals, but we should also have some very, very long-term goals like bucket list style things. And I've got a few of those, so allow me to make a nice list for everyone out there of some things you should put on your bucket list too. With goal number 1 of taking over the jiu-jitsu world in the books, it's time to move on to goal number 2, be the most handsome guy on the mat. And fortunately, Epic Roll BJJ can take care of that. When you use the coupon code podcast15 at epicrollbjj.com, you will get 15% off rash guards, shorts, t-shirts, gis, hats, joggers, bags. No matter what you need, Epic Roll has you covered. Epic Roll is gear designed by grapplers for grapplers, and it will have you looking your best both on and off the mats. Give them a follow on the gram at epicrollbjj and use the code podcast15 at checkout when you visit epicrollbjj.com to get 15% off your order. Now that we're all upping how good we look, here's some things on my BJJ bucket list that you can add to yours. Welcome to that Jiu-Jitsu podcast. I mentioned in the intro about having surgery, so just to address that really quick. If you were following along in the worst shape of my life series, you know that I had a bit of an injury during training. I was hoping the injury was not going to be so bad, and in the last training blog, I talked about waiting for MRI results, and those results came back, and they were not good. I completely tore my posterolateral corner, which apparently is a thing and a part of your knee, and I also have a small tear on my PCL. The good news is that my ACL looks to be okay, but the bad news is that this is 5 months worth of total recovery before I'm even drilling again, and 3 months of crutches after surgery, so that sucks. But for you, the people who like this show, it's not all bad. I'll have lots of time to put out a lot of content since I can't do anything else for a few months, so yeah. But back to today's topic. Thinking about the goals that I can't accomplish right now led me to think, well, I'll still have time for those, and I'll still have time to accomplish the things I've always wanted to. It might just take some more time. And then I started thinking about what some of those things that I really want to accomplish, what they really are. It seems fairly obvious to me that earning a black belt in jiu-jitsu is the goal of everyone who ever steps foot on the mat, regardless of how long they train for. Even if they quit at blue belt, at some point their goal was a black belt. It's a very long-term goal in jiu-jitsu, so I guess technically it fits into the bucket list category, but it's just such an obvious one. It seems silly to spend time talking about why earning a black belt is a good goal, so I'm just going to accept that everyone's on the same page with that one and move on. One goal related to being a black belt I do have is to promote my kids to black belt one day. I think every parent really wants their kids to be involved in the things that they do, and it's no secret that jiu-jitsu is a huge part of my life, so it would be a super bummer if my kids hate jiu-jitsu, but I'm going to do everything I can to prevent that. My kids are still really young, 2.5 and 8 months old, so there's not really any jiu-jitsu being done right now. My 2-year-old does jiu-jitsu, but it's just us tackling each other, and I taught her to sit and mount, but that's it. As much fun as I hope it will be for us all to be on the mat together in the future, I think it will be the coolest thing ever to promote them to black belt. And this is going to be like 20 plus years down the line, and thinking about spending 20 years together doing jiu-jitsu with my kids is the most awesome thing that I can think of. And to think of them sticking with it and progressing and getting good enough to be promoted to black belt, I can't wait. I just can't wait for that. I have competed a lot. I've won things. I've lost things. I've beat people up in a cage. One thing I've never won, though, is an IBJJF World Championship. really was hoping this was the year for a Masters Worlds title, since I was feeling great in training and starting to ratchet up the intensity and was very focused on what I was trying to do. And then I got hurt and that goal is on hold. It could still happen this year. I could crush this rehab and heal quickly, and by July I'm rolling again and training again, and by the fall I'm competing for a world title. Or it could not happen, and maybe I shouldn't get too ahead of myself since surgery hasn't even happened yet. So I shouldn't make plans that are too big for after surgery already. But either way, this year or not, I need a world championship. I just need one. It's simple as that. On top of an IBJJF World Championship, I would really love to compete at ADCC, but I'm also not an idiot, so that's not happening. But what I would really want to happen is to still compete on whatever the current biggest stage is at the time. It used to be my goal to have a match at Metamoris, but that of course doesn't exist anymore. But that was the biggest stage at the time. I was working towards the big stage goal. After Metamoris, I was shooting for EBI, but now I think that Who's Number One has probably replaced EBI in terms of what the biggest stage is. So I want a match there. But let's be honest for a second. If EBI or Who's Number One or Submission Underground were to offer me a match right now, or I guess in 5 months from now, I'm counting that as the biggest stage and crossing this one off the list. I will keep the door open though. As I talked about previously, a lot of people don't like flow grappling, and since that's the home of Who's Number One, maybe something one day will replace that. In which case, that will be my new big stage goal, whatever that new thing is. It doesn't matter who it's for though, I'm still pushing for a match on the biggest platform. And maybe I can cross 2 bucket list things off at once with this next one. I have been trying to get a sub-only match against Israel Adesanya or Sugar Sean O'Malley or Francis Ngannou or Alexander Volkanovski for a long time, and I still can't understand why they won't respond to me. It's not like they are incredibly famous UFC fighters with a lot more important things going on than trying to pass the guard of a random guy that they never heard of on the internet. It just does not make sense. But one day, I think it would be a lot of fun to have a sub-only match against a current or former UFC champ. So Uncle Chael, let's just do it on Submission Underground, and then everybody's happy. And by everybody, I mean pretty exclusively me. In pursuit of making this show the best show in the world, I would love to take it on the road and do a world tour. If we could visit some of the biggest gyms in the world and get beat up by some of the best grapplers in the world, but do interviews with them and training blogs and put content out, I'm pretty sure that the whole thing could be a write-off and basically free, I think. Almost every time I talk to a competitor on this show, I add their name to the potential list of places I want to go for the hopefully eventual world tour. Maybe do like a month-long trip to a few different countries and visit some famous people and just keep swiping that show credit card. I mean, what can go wrong swiping a credit card for the show? I mean, that's all free too, I think. So I guess we'll just have to stay tuned for the travel blog. Something that is actually not on my bucket list, but I know is on a lot of people's, is training in Brazil. I'd go to Brazil if offered to me and paid for, but it's not a must visit for me. I'd like to train there just for the sake of the, this is where it all started kind of thing. But I think the sport is past the point where if you want the best, most intense training, you have to go to Brazil. That's not to say there isn't good training in Brazil, because obviously there is, but I don't think it's how it used to be, where everything that's not in Brazil is somehow inferior to everything that is. I'll maybe go one day, but it's not on my list of the places that I have to see before I die. It would be cool, but I'm not like super into it. And I am sure that I just made someone's bucket list under the goal of find Justin and beat him up for besmirching the country of Brazil. It is what it is. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what's on your BJJ bucket list that I didn't mention. I'm very interested to hear what you are all trying to do in your lives. While you're down there commenting, why not smash that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. There is a lot of content coming, so please stay tuned. You can check out one of these videos next, and I will see you all in the next episode.